Here we go. Oh, there you go.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk About It. I am your host, Reverend Edward N. Mason Jr., and we're glad that you have shared with us this evening. We're looking for another Power Pack show where we will get a chance to talk about issues that are relevant to our community. We come on each week on Thursday evenings at 8 p.m. We are a live streaming talk show that speaks to issues that are relevant to our community. We try to keep it informative, keep it engaging, and keep it relative. We know this evening we were supposed to have our Baltimore County Executive, Johnny Ojeski, sharing with us. However, something came up with Baltimore County and he needed to take care of that business. And so he is going to reschedule and join us. Also, we're going to have Dr. Davis, who shares with us by way of our um, co host. He will be sharing with us this evening. He was having some technical difficulties, so he's still being attempting to connect. Also, we're grateful this evening to have sharing with us Dr. Cleveland T.A. Mason, one of my, for namesake brethren, who is the president of I believe it's the United Missionary Baptist Convention, and we are grateful that his schedule permitted him to share with us this evening. And we're going to talk about this church reopening. But just before we bring in Dr. Mason, we're going to kind of just bring you up to date with some things that are happening in and around our city. We know that the virus is still running rampant and it is escalating in several states, mainly in Texas, California, as well as Florida. In fact, those states are seeing a increase in cases that are being reported. We are now up over 122,000 cases where persons have lost their lives here in this yet to be United States of America, and the number is still rising. And so, my concern is that we would be concerned enough to share with our brothers, our sisters, our family members, to let them know, especially our young folk, that it is not good for us to become lax in our priorities as it relates to this pandemic. It is not good for us to do a lot of social or physical gatherings. It is not good for us to let our guards down, but we must remain vigilant. And so I encourage you to continue to wash your hands and do those things that are necessary. And even now, while we are in this early stage of this broadcast, those who are watching by way of Facebook, we ask that you will like this page, like this broadcast. Also, share it with your friends and your families, your coworkers, persons that are on Facebook with you. And then send us a comment. We are able to receive your comments. You can send us a comment and we'll see them. And then those who are watching us by way of YouTube, thank you for joining in with us. Again, we ask that you will subscribe to our personal YouTube page and then set the alarm bell so that when we come on, it will notify you. We also ask that you will invite your friends and your family members and coworkers to be a part of what we're doing in this communication as we are doing our best to try to keep things relevant and to speak to our community about that which is important to us. And for those who have already contacted us and sent us information, even now we see you, Sister Margie. Thank you. Good evening. Sister Sharitha, good evening. We are happy to see you. You are welcome to email us at any given time at our email address if you want to reach us at yes, let's talk about it, the number one at gmail.com. Please email us any questions, any concerns, any comments that you may have. Let us know how we're doing, whether we are being relevant to you. Also, one of our platforms for this talk show is voter registration. Please make sure that if you have not registered to vote, that you do so. You can do so by going right on your computer to usa.gov and you can register to vote. Do that right now because we will be able to vote with the election that's coming up in the general. It's too late for the primary, but you'll be able to vote in the upcoming election. But you must do that relatively soon. And so we're grateful to God for how He has blessed us and how He has kept us. As you know, on this broadcast, we do not do any preaching, although I am a reverend and Dr. Davis is a reverend, and Dr. Mason is sharing with us this evening. He's a reverend, but I'm not doing no preaching and I'm not doing no Bible study. I am speaking to issues that are relevant to our community. Our young men and young women are dying in the streets, and it's not just now, but have been happening for some time. The only difference is now we are starting to see it. Folk are recording, they are capturing it on their phones. And now we are starting to see it unfold in front of our eyes. And not only that, but the police department is sharing with individuals, especially with police unions, have a lot of clout, a lot of pull. And what we are starting to see around this nation is that this code blue that they have, this where they stick together, this code blue, where they stick together, they make sure that um, their code of honor, where they don't talk about what's going on amongst them, they make sure that those things are giving them the opportunity where they can stick together. And so we are grateful to God for how He has blessed us and kept us. And so what we want to do is bring some awareness to what is actually going on in our community. We want to bring some awareness and bring some 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 changes. We talked about police reform. We talked about um, before about opportunities for us to do better, and we must engage ourselves. That's why we have a demonstration planned for this coming Sunday, a march that we are going to do, except it won't be physical marching. No, we're not getting out doing no physical marching. We are actually going into the communities throughout the city of Baltimore. As you can see, most of you all have seen the flyer as it is up. We hope that you're able to see it. We are doing a peaceful ride along demonstration of solidarity for justice and reform. We are gathering at the 70 Park and Ride in West Baltimore on this coming Sunday, June the 28th. We will begin assembling there in the parking lot around 1:30, where the caravan will begin at 2 p.m. We're calling for everybody, churches, community leaders, fraternities, sororities, businesses. If you have a business, you have a van that has your name of your business on it, dump trucks, whatever you have. We've reached out to motor coach companies, if you've got a school bus company, any type of company, bring it, put it in the caravan. And we are we're hoping to get at least 200 vehicles in the possession. We've got motorcycles that are coming. We want to make a stand. We want to take a stand. We want to let those in elected offices know that we have had enough. We are fed up. We've had enough. And so we are coming. We're coming. We're going to leave the park and ride at 2 p.m. and head down Cooks Lane to Edmondson Avenue. We'll take Edmondson Avenue down to Fulton Avenue. Dr. Cleveland Mason, we're coming right past your church. Then we'll go to Fulton Avenue, make a left, then go up to North Avenue and make a right, and go down Pennsylvania Avenue to Martin Luther King Boulevard. And then we will go and make another left on Pratt Street, go down past the harbor. Then we'll turn up Calvert Street, and our first stop will be at the courthouse. There we will stop, and the plans is to have a hearse with the casket in it, and in front of the courthouse, we will stop and pull the casket out and let it sit there in front of the courthouse for about 5 minutes. And the message that we are sending by doing that is to say that the decisions and the actions that you take at these locations where we're stopping actually kills the dreams and the lives of our people. And so we're making a stop there at the courthouse. Then we will turn and go up, make a stop at City Hall, do the same thing. We'll leave City Hall and we'll make a stop at the police headquarters, do the same thing. We'll leave the police headquarters and then we'll head up to Harford and North Avenue at the courthouse there. We'll do the same thing. And then from there, we will sojourn to our final destination, where we will gather on the parking lot of the Mount Pleasant Church and Ministries. Bishop Clifford Johnson has been so kind to be in agreement with us to allow us the use of the parking lot. And there we will end up and have a short rally. We have approximately 4 people that will speak. We only plan to rally for approximately 30 minutes. And also, we will do voter registration for those who need to register. You can register right there on site. We will have tables, chairs, and the voter registration forms available. And so there you'll be able to get further information. We will lay out for you at that rally our plan of action. Not only our plan of action, but we will give you information of our first initiative. Our first initiative. And so please, if you are available, if you can, please, I need you at all costs to join us in this demonstration ride along. Get your signs, get your people. We want you to remain safe. That's why we're doing a drive along. We're not marching. We want to keep folks safe. But we need we need cars to sojourn with us in the caravan. And so, Dr. Davis, I believe that you have joined us. Let's see if you are with us, Dr. Davis, to my control room. Let's see if we can bring in Dr. Davis. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We are fine. And so, thank you and welcome again. Dr. Davis is our co-host. He shares with us each week on this broadcast. And Dr. Davis, how are people being encouraged and excited that you have shared with so far regarding the demonstration drive along?
Well, so far, people are excited because they've been asking, what were we planning to do as far as the protesting, the killing that been going on with the police and everything. So they want to know what kind of protests have we done. And I told them, no, we're not out marching, but we will be doing a drive-through. And we're asking everybody to join us in the drive-through and they seem to be excited. Those who I've talked to seem to be excited because, once again, we want to do it as peacefully as possible, but we want them to know that we are involved and we are concerned about what's going on here in America. We want to make sure they understand that we're for police reform. We're for trying to make this a better nation. And right now, seems like everything is tense. And I think the president is not helping at all. But once again, I think people are excited because, once again, they want to be a part of something that's moving, something that's headed in the right direction, that this nation, that Baltimore City, the state of Maryland might know that we are concerned and we are part of what's going on with the great movement here in our great country. So, like I said, people are excited and they are willing to come aboard and meet us at 70 West, and they want to travel with us as we go through the city.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Davis, for sharing with us. We have already waiting to come in, as you know, Dr. Cleveland T.A. Mason, one of my namesake brothers, brother from a different mother. We have partnered in ministry for many years now. We have been blessed to do some things at the Great Perkins Square Church right there at 2500 Edmondson Avenue. He's allowed us to do some things, use his facility, a beautiful location right there in the heart of Baltimore. Dr. Mason,
Yes.
welcome to Let's Talk About It.
Good evening, sir, and thank you so much for the invitation to share. We know that there's a great deal going on in our city, in our state, and in this nation, and there's a lot to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I guess tonight you are sharing in the capacity of the president of the United Missionary Baptist Convention. And one of the questions that many people are having, especially as it relates to churches, is when will churches open up? When will we be able to get back to what some people call church as usual? I know, as far as I'm concerned, church will no longer be what we knew it to be, but it will certainly take on a different form. Now, I know in speaking with you, I asked you about what plans or what information had you shared with your convention, and I know you said that you all had been in conversation. Won't you share with our listening audience what you can?
All right. Certainly, there is a great deal of enthusiasm, and at the same time, there's a great deal of anxiousness with regard to coming back to church. I can only say church will not be church as usual. We will not be able to go back to doing things as we used to do, and with good reason. I think that out of this pandemic situation, we are learning some better practices that ought to take place as the church emerges out of this. One of the things that we are grateful for is that our state has opened up. The governor has given permission for churches to open up and have services at 50% capacity. In Baltimore City, Montgomery County, PG County, we have been slower to open up because we were watching the numbers, and it did not seem a wise thing to do at the time. Others were opening up and moving forward and beginning to have church services in person. Baltimore City on last Friday did open up, and we are looking forward to going through the process of re-energizing the church, re-energizing our people, and taking those necessary precautions that need to be taken in order to enter having church safely. one of the things that is paramount for those who are considering opening now, I know that there's some who have decided that they're going to wait until September or they're about to open their churches again. I pray that all of you will be able to make it through the summer months. We know how the summer slump affects churches, but September is a slated time for many churches that are planning to open. Some, however, are planning to open in July. The first Sunday in July, some are going to be opening. Prior to opening, and I know that we are involved in that process, we must do more than simply clean the church. It's good to have the church clean, but because of COVID-19, we are moving to not only disinfect, but to sanitize our church facilities so that it can be as clean as possible for people who come in. There must be a commitment to continuing to wear face coverings. We are going to be practicing social distancing. I know everybody is saying 6 feet. At Perkins Square, we're going to do 7 feet because 7 is the Lord's number. We're looking forward to having our people come together and begin to experience worship together. Is going to be different. We won't be shaking hands. We won't be hugging. There'll be no kissing. I encourage people to use the Oriental bow and show respect for one another. It's going to be an exciting time to come together, but we must continually be aware that there will be adjustments that need to take place in how we do things. How we have our meetings will be adjusted. How we engage in other activities, like as a Baptist church, we like to eat. And we won't be able to eat at buffets like we used to, where everybody kind of served themselves. Things are going to have to change in that department. And it will likely be a service where your plates are prepared. You may be using food that has been prepared ahead of time, packaged, that will allow you to share a meal. But we won't be having buffets like we used to, where people came to the table and served themselves and passed utensils from one hand to another. Those days will be behind us.
So, Dr. Mason, let me be clear. Certainly, the recommendations that you are talking about are just that, recommendations that you all are sharing with other churches that are within your convention. And
Right.
so those who, our listening and viewing audience, will certainly have to contact their church for when they will be doing that opening up. Well, not only will we have to change our adjustment as far as socially, but even we as preachers will have to change our preaching. We won't be able to say slap five with your neighbor
No.
because your neighbor won't be in slap five distance to you at the time. And so we are a lot of changes. A lot of changes are going to have to take place. Even they've set rules as far as no passing the offering plate. That has
That's right.
to be in a stationary
Mhm.
position. There are changes that's going to have to take place as it relates to serving of the Lord's Supper.
That's correct.
All of those things are going to have to be addressed. The choir, how the choir is positioned in the choir stand, and
Hmm.
even down to the doors, the entry doors and the exit doors um, are going to have to be restructured, and our whole thinking as church is going to have to change. And I know
Hmm.
you mentioned that some are planning to open in September, but I was watching and listening as it was discussed that probably at the very minimum, 1/3 of the churches that were in operation before this pandemic hit will not reopen. As you know, and as well as Dr. Davis, as he knows, many churches, as you suffer and struggle during the summer months. Some churches were already struggling when before this hit, all with finances and that sort of things. But
Hmm.
it's going to bring about a change, and we're going to have to be mindful of that. I know that we weren't all given the opportunity, or should I say, the same opportunity to participate in that government funding with the stimulus money. But I don't know how
Hmm.
many churches in your convention was able to get any of it. I haven't talked to any pastor that has said whether or not his or her church was able to receive. Dr. Davis, do you know of any pastors that were able to receive any of that stimulus money?
No, I don't. And the pastors that I've talked to said that they didn't want to fool with it because they didn't know what kind of clinches was it behind it. They didn't know if there was
Hmm.
some kind of if we give you this money, now what are y'all going to do for us? Or do you have to change up to comply to what they want and what have you? So a lot of them said no, they didn't fool with it because with this president, they don't know what to expect. And so they said, no, they're not going to fool with it. And I don't know of any at the moment that even applied for it.
Okay. I do know that there were some who applied, and there are some who've already been paid. Um, the payroll protection was intended to help maintain jobs. So
Okay.
hopefully some have benefited. I know that the big dogs got to the table first. Some were prepared before the money was ready to be distributed. But unfortunately, for some of our African American churches, we are oftentimes um, slow to respond at times.
Yeah.
We certainly have a great deal of suspicion, as Dr. Davis was talking about. Um, we have to read the print, and then we have to read the fine print,
Yep.
and it's always helpful to know somebody who is able to help walk you through.
Well, you are
Right.
correct. You are correct with that. And as you all know, I do have a business. I'm a licensed and insured caterer here in the state of Maryland, and my catering business did apply for the PPP fund.
Hmm.
We were able to get funds, and as you said, it was to be used according to the rules. At least 75% of what you got had to go to payroll. I am happy to say, to go on record, I used over 100% of what I received to go to payroll for my employees. So I definitely understand. Now, we didn't get a whole lot. We didn't get what a lot of other companies received because there
Hmm.
was guidelines. But the good thing is because we operated above board as a business, it wasn't hard for us to apply. It really wasn't. It was an easy process. All we had to do was just contact. In fact, I didn't even have to contact my payroll people because the information that was needed, my payroll people automatically supplies me with when they do our payroll. And
Hmm.
so the information and the documents that we had to provide were already in my folder, so it made it easy for us to apply and receive those funds.
Hmm.
So we did. I don't know a whole lot of companies that received some, but we did receive, and we were able to be a blessing to those who were employed by our catering business. But that had nothing to do with churches. Nothing to do with.
Hmm.
But again, churches are struggling and have been struggling. Uh, Not only that, we know that some of these new guidelines is going to cause undue or excessive financial burden on churches to try to meet the demand,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't have, for the most part, persons that are within our congregation that can do some of the things that's being required. And then especially for those who have smaller congregations, many of those congregations have seniors, persons who are
Mm-hmm.
serving on committees or trustees and deacons and sort. Some of them aren't able to do some of that cleaning or sanitizing that's required, and so
Right.
therefore we're going to have to hire outside businesses and agencies to come in to make sure that we meet what is being required. And here is the thing, Dr. Mason, here is the thing that we have to be careful about. We saw on the news just this past week where, I forget where the church was, where over 50% of the congregation had contracted the virus.
Mm-hmm.
That was just recently. And then a few months before that, there was a church right outside of Charlestown, West Virginia, where most of the members of that church and then other churches, because there was a pastor's or church anniversary that took place. And so there were several churches that came. You know how we do with anniversaries. Other pastors and churches come to support us and be
Right.
a part of the celebration. Well,
Mm-hmm.
most of the people that came from those various churches caught the virus, and I think over 25 to 33% of those people died. And so the church has to be cautious when we do things, because we know people are quick to hold us liable for exposure for anything that they can. It's a shame
Mm-hmm.
that we have to be mindful like that in God's house. But listen, as Dr. Mason and Dr. Davis, as you know, everybody that's in the church house aren't members of the house.
That's
I mean,
right.
the right house.
That's right.
They
That's
come
right.
to God's house, but they're not a part of God's family,
Right.
and they will
Mm-hmm.
they will take advantage of any opportunity they can, if they think they can get a dollar that
That's right.
to pay taxes on, or whatever. And so we have to be careful about that as leaders of the people of God, because people look for us to give them
Right.
Mm-hmm.
information, good guidance, good counsel, as well as the Word of God. Uh, Dr. Mason, we know we can't afford to do this or that. We have to do this and that.
That's right.
We have to be both natural as well as we are spiritual.
Yeah. Well, this is a time when there are a multitude of questions, concerns. Not only am I recommending that people consult with health professionals for how we need to handle ourselves as we move forward, but there must be some discussion with your legal representatives to help you determine whether or not you need to craft something to be signed by people who will attend services in your church, much like uh, the people's president required that the people that came to his rally
Uh, well,
would.
Dr. Mason, I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm glad how you put that. The people's president. On one of our past shows, a certain person indicated that the president was mine, and I had to share with the individual that no, the president was not mine. Although I'm in this yet to be United States of America, the president was not mine. He happened to be the president in the White House, but he wasn't my president. I prefer to call him number 45, and you prefer to call him the
The
people.
people's president. Yes, sir.
I'm
Yes,
not
sir.
even going to ask Dr. Davis what he would call him, but since he's a part, Dr. Davis,
Well,
what would you call him?
we are on the air.
Well, I would have to agree with Dr. Cleveland Mason. He is the people's president. He's not the American president, but he's somebody's president. But he ain't. I don't think he's the American president that the American people really looking for. And so I'll probably have to go with what Dr. Cleveland Mason said and what you said, number 45, and leave it at that.
Well, Dr. Mason, as you said, we will have to look at doing something. Well, listen, even number 45, the rally he had in Oklahoma, he had those that came had to sign a waiver.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, he was so anxious about having a rally that, regardless of the fact that the numbers were spiking, especially in that area,
right?
Yeah,
he wanted folk to sign a waiver, and as we know, now members of his advanced team tested positive. Some other members that was there tested positive. Some Secret Service agents have now tested positive, and so now they've got a whole uproar. And not your president, the people's president.
That's right. Get it right, boy.
Still refuses to wear a mask and has the audacity to say over and over again that he is going to cut back on testing. Cut back on testing. Now,
his logic is flawed. His logic is flawed. We don't have more cases because of testing.
Right.
What testing does is help us to see who has the virus and isolate and trace to see who might be connected to that person who has the virus. But just because you do more testing does not mean you're going to have more cases. It helps you to identify where the cases are so you can mitigate properly.
Well, listen,
that's right.
This joker, just like a joker in a deck of cards. This joker has a task force that they determined or has come out today that he hasn't even talked to, and they haven't even had a meeting in over 2 weeks. He's not interested in hearing what the task force has to say. He's not interested in trying to save lives. He's not interested in trying to keep people safe and bring about some type of mitigation to this. All he's interested in is having his way, doing it his way. In fact, they need to change, as long as he's there, they need to change it from the White House to Burger King #2, since he won't have it his way.
Yeah.
Well, and anybody who don't agree with him, he gets rid of them.
That's right. That's right. The sad part about it is we have congressmen and senators who just go along with this nonsense. And it's sad because once again, people are hurting, and they're hurting all the way around, really, because once again, the pandemic is out there, unemployment has risen, and I mean, we're in a terrible crisis, and this joker president that we have is just doing nonsense. And I tell everybody, no, he is the virus. He is the virus because he's killing everybody, and he don't have sense enough to understand. As a leader, there are certain things you got to do to take precautions, especially when it comes to the people. But getting back to what Dr. Cleveland Mason was saying, we have to go that far to get a signed waiver, to get people to sign in order to come to church, to say we're not going to sue the church if anything should happen. And is that what I'm understanding?
That's what some are doing. That's what some are doing. And I would just simply recommend that the leadership of the church would consult with their attorney as to what might be best for them.
Right. Okay.
We have to listen. We have to learn to protect ourselves all the way around. Folk will sue the church if they slip on a piece of snow or a piece of ice front during the wintertime. on the sidewalk because you didn't clear the pathway good enough for them. And so we just had, I mean, unfortunately, it is what it is.
Yes,
It is.
yes. And it don't have to be snow. It don't have to be snow. It don't have to be snow if the church has a crooked sidewalk.
Yeah.
And it's cracked or whatever, and they fall, they can sue the church for that. Because once again,
Dr. Davis, don't give nobody no ideas.
No, I'm just saying I've been through it, so I know, because when they fell and they said, well, I'm gonna get my lawyer and all this stuff. I said, okay, but I'm just saying, people, anytime. I mean, you can slide on a piece of branch on your property, and they say, hey, I fell on your property, and I'm like, okay, but see, that's why it's good, like he said, to get the lawyer to find out what's best to handle certain situations. And in this situation, you definitely need to consult a lawyer to make sure you're in compliance, to make sure whatever has to be done.
Well, one of the things that we also need to look at is how much time he's spending on nonsense. Now he's making a big issue about statues. We know that certain statues need to come down. We know certain statues have already been removed. Even in the city of Baltimore, under the past administration, statues were removed in the middle of the night.
That's right.
And so statues coming down is not nothing new. But I think what we have to do is we have to seize the moment right now. Dr. Mason, is the time. It's the time. This is the moment that we have to seize to try to get some things done. It is often said that you bend steel when it's hot. You can't bend steel when it's cold. You bend steel when it's hot. And so right now we have the great opportunity for us to not just make a lot of noise, not just to do a lot of demonstration, but we have the opportunity now to demand change. That's why police reform is such a big topic right now. We know that there's been some discussion on the Hill with the Congress and with the Senate about these new proposed bills, and I know the one for the Senate was shot down, not because it didn't have some things in it, but it was shot down because some of the things in it didn't go far enough. They talked about chokeholds, but we're trying to say no chokeholds.
Right.
They're talking about autonomy or exonerating police officers and making them free from legal action. We're saying no. If you do the crime, whether you in a blue uniform, a white uniform, or red uniform, if you do the crime, you need to be held accountable for your actions.
That's right.
People need to know that listen, it was somebody else's son yesterday, and somebody else's son the week before, and somebody else's son the week before that, and somebody else's daughter the month before that. Listen, things are going on around this nation every week, every day.
Almost every day, Reverend. Almost every day.
Yes, every day.
That's right.
And the unfortunate thing is, in the midst of protests, it's getting worse.
Exactly.
It's getting worse.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. Not only that, some of these same police officers who had taken an oath to protect and serve are now saying because they are being held accountable for their actions, they're going to resign. They're going to quit. I saw on the news where a whole force, a whole task force resigned. I think from the SWAT team, the whole team resigned, all because they didn't like the way things were coming down. Listen, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter whether you blue or grizzly gray. If you wrong, you wrong. And if you don't want nobody to treat your family like that, so why would you treat other people's family like that? Just because you have a badge and a shield don't give you the right to just mistreat people, whether they black or green. It don't matter. If you're wrong, you're wrong. And we
You
have
gotta,
to stand up and call it out, call it what it is. It's injustice. It's racial divide. That's what it
that's right.
is. Disparity among our people. It's racism.
Yep.
That's what it is. And we've got people that's got guns and badges in uniforms that's mistreating our people. That one shooting that happened just, I believe it was last week, after he shot the guy that was running away. He said, what was the first thing that they said? He said, based on the camera, I got him.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing he said, I got him.
Right.
Now, what he did not qualify for legal or deadly force.
Right. They got to be held accountable.
We have to hold these individuals accountable for the actions that they do. And I'm going to tell you, y'all may as well get ready, because we're going to have to take on these police unions, because they are the ones, in many cases, that are standing behind these individuals, that are helping to pay their court costs and for their lawyers. They're the ones, these fraternal orders of police, they are the ones who are aiding them on, and who are telling them what to do and what not to do. They're paying more attention to them than the people that's paying them.
Once again, they got.
And so
once again, they got.
Go ahead, Dr. Davis.
Yeah, once again, they got to be held accountable. And I'm saying it because, as I explained to somebody the other day, you take a professional boxer. He cannot box on the street. His hands are indicted. He's a professional boxer. Therefore, he cannot fight on the street. He can't get into a brawl because his hands are indicted. He's a professional boxer. The same thing with a black belt karate. If he's a black belt, he cannot get in a brawl in the street because he's qualified to kill a man with his hands. It's the same thing with the police. He's got to be held accountable. He has taken an oath. He's wearing a badge. He's got a gun. And therefore, when you draw that gun, you don't have to shoot it. I mean, especially in the case with this guy, the last guy that got shot, he's running away from him. They already got his license, his address. They know where he lives. They're going to pick them up anytime. But to shoot a man in the back unnecessarily is wrong. But yet you hold a boxer accountable. You hold a man who holds a black belt in karate or judo or whatever, you hold him accountable. These guys got to be held accountable.
But they've gotten away with things so long, and they have been permitted to operate with impunity. They since it's been going on for so long. There has got to be the kind of uprising that we've seen in the streets. There has got to be the kind of outcry that we have seen across racial lines. Anybody with good sense knows that police reform is necessary, that retraining of police officers is necessary.
Yes.
Our world cannot continue as it is. And the tragedy of what's happening in the midst of all of this is the race baiting that is taking place by some of our leading officials.
Yeah.
Well,
that's right. That's right.
I want our viewers to know that we here at the Let's Talk About It are about a good work. We are in the midst of doing something. This peaceful demonstration that's going to take place on Sunday is only the first of many events that we are doing. And so we need you to be a part of it. When we get to the end for the short rally, we will begin to roll out the master plan that we have, our plan of action. We will roll that out at that rally, and then we will also share with those who are there what will be our first initiative. We have talked with some legal counsel. We have persons that have partnered with us, and I'm really confident that you will begin to see something unfold. I shared before. We see a lot of a lot of demonstrations. We see a lot of marching. And so the question has always been, after the march, then what? After
Mhm.
the demonstration, then what? And so I have said that what I have seen is it appears to be a lot of energy. It appears to be a lot of energy. And I shared this illustration. If you take gunpowder and dump it out on the ground and light it, what you will have is a lot of sparkle, a lot of energy, a lot of fizzle. But by itself in that form, it doesn't have any power. But you take that same amount of gunpowder, put it in a cylinder, a casement, place a lead cap on top of it, it has now become a bullet, which now transforms it into power. What I'm trying to do is to take this energy that we have from the young folk, the middle-aged folk, the seniors, take this energy, transform it into power, bring about some direction and some guidance so that all that we do is not
Mhm.
fabulous. It's not
Mhm.
for naught. That's one of the reasons why you see we are bringing legislators on our show. We're talking to them. Why? Because we want them to know that we're going to hold them accountable. We're not just here just to be talking today and we're going to forget about it tomorrow. No, that's not what we're here for. We want to let them know up front that we are watching, we are monitoring, and there's certain things that we are demanding. That's why we're trying to get Johnny O to be on our show because we want him to know, yes, you have done some things for African Americans. Yes, you have put some things in place, but we are expecting some other things. We want some more done. We want some more changes. We want some more things implemented. And oh, by the way, we're going to help and support you to do it. We know all police officers aren't bad. We know that.
Right.
We're not, when they holler defund the police department, we're not saying get rid of the police department. Shucks, we already got more murders today than we had this time last year. What do you think it'd be like if we didn't have police officers? No, we're not
Right.
saying get rid of the police officers. We're saying get rid of the bad police officers. And then some of the funding that the police department is getting, let's reallocate those funds into other areas of training and other areas of social justice, other areas that will help our community. Don't tell me that they don't have social services people on standby, on call 24 hours a day. I know that's not true. They have a building downtown, right across the street from the juvenile courthouse, where they have social service people in there 24 hours a day. And they already dispatched them on certain calls when there's child abuse and stuff like that. They already dispatching them. All they would have to do is reallocate some funds, get some more workers so that they would have it staffed adequately around the clock so they can dispatch them on cases that are of nature that police officers are not trained to deal with. We have to be cognizant of that. But then there's something else. Oh, I'm getting ready to let it loose. I can't tell you till Sunday. If you want to know, you got to come Sunday. But I've got some stuff that I've got to tell you of the first initiative. I think you're going to be excited about it. Dr. Mason, I certainly hope that your schedule will permit. I know you're a busy man, you got a lot going on, but sometimes we've got to make some priorities. We've got to join things that we feel are worthwhile, make some sacrifices to be a part of some things. Because listen, I told folk before, a leader without any followers is nothing more than a person taking a walk. And if we want our elected officials to take us seriously, we have to show that we have the constituency of our members. We're doing this time in Baltimore City. But listen, Baltimore County, we coming. This is not a city or a county thing. This is going to be a statewide thing. We're hoping that as this moves, as this grows, as this perpetuates, that we wind up doing something or partnering with somebody in PG County. We can partner with somebody in Montgomery County. We can partner with somebody in Harper County. It doesn't matter as long as we band together. And the problem that we have today is most of us will not, as African Americans, we will not stand together, especially if it wasn't our idea and we didn't come up with it and we're not the lead dog in charge. We have a problem supporting something that somebody else put forth. It don't matter how good it is. We just won't stick together. We have the crab pot mentality. Even when the fire is not under the pot and the steam is not coming up to the top, we will not stick together. But listen, with all of this going on, we can make some changes. We have the opportunity to make some changes. Dr. Mason, we've got a few minutes left. Any final words that you want to share?
I certainly want to encourage our continuing prayer and devotion for justice in the land, especially encourage our young people to know that there is place for them. They've really kind of taken the helm to protests across the nation. But beyond the protests, there's got to be some real relevant action that we take. So we must push them to let them know we support them, but push them to go to the State House, to push them to go to the White House, to push them to go to the Capitol, because this momentum that has been started must not be allowed to lull in face of all of the threats that are coming down and all of the rest. I believe that God will still help us to overcome. And we will be standing with those young people. They've got the energy, but we've got some wisdom. And I believe that coming together, we'll be able to forge change that will be truly revolutionary for our country.
Dr. Davis, any final words?
I just want to thank Dr. Cleveland Mason for sharing with us this evening. I really appreciate him being there. He's always been a faithful and dedicated brother. That's one of the things I love about Dr. Mason, Dr. Cleveland Mason. He is just a down-to-earth and a bona fide believer. And so I thank God for him. And I just say to the people that are listening, once again, we got to be about doing what is right to help this nation, because once again, as you can see, our leader in the White House, he doesn't have any understanding. He doesn't have any clue of what he's doing. And so we got to take the helm. We got to take charge and move forward. And once again, we commend those young people for moving forward, because they're headed in the right direction. And I agree with Cleveland Mason. They have the energy, but we have the wisdom and the know-how. Thank you, sir.
All right. Once again, thank you all. I am Reverend Edward Mason. I've been your host of Let's Talk About It, a live streaming talk show that keeps issues relevant and effective. We need your support. Sunday, this coming Sunday, meet us at the 70 West Park and Ride for our peaceful ride-along demonstration. We need you young. We need you old. We need you middle-aged. We need lottie-dottie and everybody. Call your friends. Call your neighbors. Call your families. Tell them gas up the car. Meet us at the 70 Park and Ride, where we will share together in a peaceful ride-along demonstration for justice and equality. God bless you, my brothers and sisters. We'll see you on Sunday at the 70 Park and Ride.